Tell us how Broadcom was a threat to national security while Qualcomm is quite the opposite.
As you say, so many strands, and this was supposed to be over today. This was supposed to be the vote, and obviously it's been pushed back a month. So the CFIUS argument is very interesting. What they're really looking at here is a difference in two corporate cultures. So they're saying Qualcomm is a huge investor in research and development. They are a big part of the sort of the future of 5G and America being a world leader in that. And they say there are concerns. They obviously haven't made any determinations yet, but they say there are concerns that Broadcom, potentially if Broadcom became the owner of Qualcomm, that would limit some of this R&D spending and maybe would, imperil America's position as a leader in 5G. But at the moment, it's all very preliminary.
What is Qualcomm researching? I'm sorry. I mean, now it's getting a little scary. What are they researching exactly?
Well, essentially, Qualcomm, they are very heavy on innovation, if you like, and that has been their stance in a lot of this fight. They're saying we're an innovator, Broadcom are a cost cutter. Broadcom obviously say they do a lot of innovation themselves. So there's some disagreement about sort of how this combined company would look. But the CFIUS point at the moment is there is enough for them to look into this. But I think this is a really important nuance here. Is that CFIUS were asked by Qualcomm to conduct this review, which is highly unusual. It's very unusual for a company to essentially call the government in and say, we think there is a national security risk here if this deal were to happen, so can you take a closer look at it?
Yeah, even before there was a formal sale agreement. So tell us a little bit about how Broadcom was on track to win a majority.
Yeah, so this is fascinating. We wrote on this yesterday. We have some more details today. So sort of as of last night, it looked like about 53% of the votes had already been cast. And Broadcom were well on track. If you look, a lot of their nominees had, of the votes cast, they were sort of looking at in the high 60%, so close to 70%, a lot of them, the votes cast. At the other end of the scale, you look at Qualcomm, they were doing much less well. Steve Mollenkopf, the CEO of Qualcomm particularly, he was trailing at just about a quarter of the votes cast were actually coming out in his favor. Similarly, the chairman, Paul Jacobs, again, it was about 27% of the votes were in his favor. So really, you were looking at a picture that was quite grim for Qualcomm. So the timing of this is very fortuitous. Obviously, it potentially just looks like a stay of execution for them if CFIUS do allow this through. But it would have been otherwise, if it looks like, assuming the pattern hadn't changed, it could have been a fairly ugly day for Qualcomm.
And it was going to be 6 board members, so you would imagine Qualcomm should do a bit of reshuffling at the very least.
6 board members, which would have represented obviously a majority slate, which would have given Broadcom the ability to go in and negotiate the transaction that they've been trying to negotiate. We should note that of the 6 that Broadcom put up, 4 were sort of way out in front with a huge margin, and there were 2 who were just also in front but slightly less far.